Hi everybody, this is Lee at Fresh Astrology. We are looking at a new moon eclipse in the middle of July. So it's today is the 12th, is taking place over today and tomorrow. And you feel the effects now, tomorrow, through the weekend, moving forward to the next eclipse. So game is on. And so let's talk about what it could mean for you. So to really embrace the gist of it, because I don't do the kind of astrology where I say, tomorrow you will, walk into a bar, with a priest and a rabbi, and the bartender will say X, Y, and Z, and you'll walk out with a gold coin in your hand, and then you'll turn the corner, and something will have happened to your car. I don't do that kind of, then this will happen, then that will happen, because I think I am better served when I look at astrology if I can think about what I can do to um, live my life in a way that's best for me and will create the most positive change. And so the way I look at this new moon is not what's going to happen to you or to me or to us, but to think about what does it mean in our evolution as people, as individuals. What is going on here? What's really going on behind the scenes here? So to try to kind of imprint it in your mind, I'm going to tell you about something on my Instagram feed. So I follow on Instagram and Facebook and pretty much everywhere I go. If I'm going to follow things, it's going to be wildlife related or nature related, but it's going to be revolving around birds and animals and fish, and that's just what I like looking at. And so there's this one very sweet Instagram presence called the David Sheldrake Wildlife. I think it's Foundation, but it's the David Sheldrake Wildlife something. So I think if you plug those words in, you would get it on Instagram. But anyway, they do this wonderful work in Kenya, um, trying to save elephants who've been, hurt in some way by the extreme poaching for the ivory trade that's going on there. So often they'll come upon elephants that have been shot or hurt in some way. Sometimes they're like at the bottom of a well, they've fallen in. They'll find baby elephants alive, but next to their dead mother. And so when we have a Cancer new moon, especially with this eclipse, especially opposing Pluto, especially trining Jupiter and Scorpio, then we've got elements of Neptune in Pisces. When we have all these themes, what it speaks to is definitely themes of nurturing and protection. So you definitely see it with this Wildlife Foundation that goes in and rescues and tries to protect and nurture back to health these elephants who've been victims. And they're also trying to help reverse a trend whereby the ivory trade has come in and decimated the elephant population in Kenya. And so they're working slowly, methodically, steadily, doing, one day at a time, one step at a time, hoping to reverse a trend. Uh, in a and they've got the long term, the long game in mind. And that is definitely Pluto in Capricorn. And there's also a fair amount of justice and the law involved in that whole scenario in Kenya, but also an element of luck with Jupiter coming into places that can be dark and places of secrecy and behind the scenes criminal activity, which would be Scorpio, also found in Pluto symbolism. So you have these trends that can be dark and maybe behind the scenes, things that sabotage things. And why does this relate to you? It absolutely does. So just as, in Kenya and in many areas of Africa, you have this dark kind of criminal thing going on. And you have also people on the other side trying to undo the damage, to reverse the trend, to bring healing to the situation. This is going on in your life on many levels. So if you look at yourself, what long term trend has always pulled you down? What habits, what wounds from your past are still impacting you today? What do you need to heal? And what would you like to change in your life for the long haul to completely reverse a trend that you just don't like in your life? Where are you looking to reverse a trend? Where are you looking to bring healing? That's what this new moon is about. And it's about something that takes time, something that you may have been working on or at least noticing for a long time. Maybe you feel like you haven't done a lot of work on it, or maybe you've done things that haven't worked. You've tried to reverse a trend or fix something and it just hasn't worked yet. You haven't been able to fix it yet. So this, especially with the Jupiter interaction, this is about hope, and finding lucky new opportunities or ways or ideas for deep healing in some area of your life. Just the way, because it would have been easy at any given point in time over the last couple of decades to look at a number of animal populations in a number of places in the world and think, well, they're just doomed. But then a number of animal populations, including the elephants, have been able to rebound somewhat. There have been ways to begin to reverse something that to many eyes may have looked hopeless at some point. And in your life, there may be something that you're thinking has an element of hopelessness to it. Like, I'll never be able to X, Y, and Z. Like, I got in the elevator with a woman the other day. It was a stranger, but we were talking about how hot it was and something about would it be nice to, I don't know, go to the beach, or I don't know how, we were just chit chatting. And she said, again, we didn't know each other, but she said, I always wanted a house with a pool in the backyard. And then she said, and she wasn't an old woman. It wasn't like she was 90 years old. She was maybe my age, maybe even younger. And I would say she was younger than I am. And she said, I just don't think that'll ever happen now. I'm coming to the conclusion that will never happen. And that's this kind of ambient hopelessness that people do come to in their lives around certain things. There's a story that you're telling yourself somewhere, like, but that'll never happen. I'd love to find love. I'd love to get married. I'd love to have children, but that'll never happen. And then there's a story that you say to yourself about why. And really, what this Pluto and Saturn want to do is they want to, in Capricorn, build a way forward, build a new path forward where you can change something on a deep level. And when you have things interacting with this Pluto and Saturn, like this new moon eclipse, it's a new opportunity to reflect. The moon does, just as much as we say the moon can bring up emotions, the moon also is actually a tool that you can use when the moon is doing cool stuff and going through interesting places in the chart. You can use it as a tool that strengthens your ability to deal with your own troubled emotions. So things that normally it would be too painful to look at, too painful to reflect upon. With the moon, it can often give you strength to reflect upon something that typically would be too much for you. You wouldn't want to go there. You wouldn't want to remember. You wouldn't want to deal with. And the moon can actually give you strength, especially the one right now, to reflect upon something and see it for what it is. And to find a plan and a path forward, which is the Saturn and Pluto and Capricorn, to create a plan, create a path forward, find new hope, Jupiter, to change something on a deep level, Scorpio and Pluto and Capricorn. And somewhere in your life you've got the decimation, metaphorically speaking, you've got the decimation of the elephant population. You've got the seemingly hopeless situation of poachers, hiding, by night, coming in and just eternally, taking out the elephant population metaphorically in your world inside of you, and the feeling that just nothing can turn that tide. Nothing can fix that. It's too hard of a problem. There are too many criminal minded people. They're more determined. There are too many of them, whatever them represents, the poachers represent in your life metaphorically. And at some point, there's that sense of hope, like I think the elephant population is just going to die out, and that's where hope begins to be lost. And wherever that is in your life metaphorically, whether it's about finding love, whether it's about having a child, whether it's about having a pool in your backyard, whatever it is, or whether it's about fixing an illness, creating healing in your body, wherever that is, there can be this sense of loss of hope, and the story we tell ourselves about why that is. And we start to attach to that story as though it's true, and we start to buy into this hopelessness. But also, like the elephants in Kenya, something new can occur, like the David Sheldrake Wildlife Foundation, I think that's the last word. They can come in and start, one elephant at a time, to put blankets around them, to heal, to put salve on their wounds, to hug them so that they heal emotionally, to put them with other elephants so they begin to socialize again and feel safe again. And then slowly but surely to heal these elephants and put them out into a more natural kind of surrounding where they can interact with each other and live a more normal life, and then slowly begin to reverse the trend of decimation, and the elephants can thrive. And there's this hope and this resurgence and this deep healing. And this is the same thing metaphorically that can go on for you. This area of hopelessness can be healed. This area of hopelessness can find a new plan. And one day at a time, one moment at a time, one elephant at a time in your world, you just keep moving forward to reverse whatever the trend is for you, be it loneliness or whatever. It can be done. It happens all the time. Little miracles happen, big miracles happen in the world all the time. And this is a time and a new moon to consider and reflect on the situation as it is, to see it for what it is, but not in a way that says, well, this will always be this way, but in a way that says, well, this is what it is, but I can develop a plan. I can regenerate. Regeneration happens all the time in the world. Why not with me? Why not with you? Why not? There's never really a compelling reason why not. We can think there is, but if that's what we work on in coaching, there's never really such a compelling reason why not. We can always shoot it down eventually, because it's really a story we construct in our minds. So this is a new moon for hope and resurgence and reversing a long-term trend that you found quite difficult, painful, to the point that you just kind of give up. So you can do it. This moon can give you the emotional fortitude to reflect and to cope with any deep disappointment, and the strength to reflect in such a way that you can devise a new plan, and you can turn the tide around. You really can. And I'm really pointing people more and more toward what's going on in Capricorn is huge for every single person on the planet. And this is a time when big change can happen, and we want to be the ones in the driver's seat, right? All right, take care, guys.